I already know I'm going to strike some chords with people, even from the title of this video. But I believe that if you actually watch to the end of this video, that it would benefit you greatly. A lot of people are coming in here with preconceived notions. They're going to question every part of even the title, saying, what? You're still thinking about Trump? Wait, what? He's upholding righteousness? Wait, what? Gender insanity? What are you talking about? There's going to be lots of different levels of maturity, of understanding, speaking past each other, and understanding terminology, taxonomy, definitions, all that stuff. And I'm going to cover some of that in this video right now. The reason I'm targeting and using this case study as an example is because many people need to still break out of this perception, this concept, and your perception of reality issue of what people are telling you, and anchoring yourself in the word, anchoring yourself in biblical righteous values so that you are in alignment with what other true Christians, true believers are seeing it, and more importantly, to see from the perspective of God. And I've been saying this before, there are certain things, it's not a preference. It's not a, hey, it's your opinion, that opinion. There is a God opinion on certain things. There are people that have an anointing. There are certain people that have a view on how to proceed in a nation, making decisions, certain values, social justice issues, whatever it is, there's a stance that's righteous in the eyes of God. So before I even talk about any of these things, I want to warn you that this topic requires a lot of discernment, and it is a very advanced level of comprehension and a maturity that's required to really be on the same page. And you have to really break out of your pride. You have to break out of your cultural preconceived notions to really understand this. And I'm going to go into some Bible. I'm going to talk about several just points of note and some clarification, some caveats. The first thing I want to say is that before I even talk about any gender, LGBTQ, any modern day way to frame this issue, I just want to say, just like how God views his children or just anybody in the world, his desire is for people to repent, to know him, to seek and turn to him, and to understand righteousness, to understand biblical values. And so nobody is condemning and looking at somebody in hatred, pointing fingers because they want to hate the person. In grace, in love, and in mercy, you see a person, I'm going to talk to the person, I'm going to hang out with the person, but I'm not going to agree with their ideology, their frame of mind, and what their lifestyle is and what they're promoting. So I want to say that that's what many Christians will say of any sinful lifestyle, and this is no different. Be careful. The second thing I want to say is be careful what values you place on someone, especially somebody of leadership. I'm talking about presidential people or people in high powers of influence. A lot of people, they put values, incorrect values on something where it does not really matter that much. A lot of people look at superficial characteristics. Oh, Trump, he doesn't speak well. Oh, Trump, he rubs me the wrong way. Oh, I don't like his personality. But rather, you have to look at what they're standing for. And if that position requires a top-down, action-oriented thing to make sure that idols are abolished, that you're upholding good, righteous values, that is the criteria, one of the major criteria needed to be able to uphold and sit in that position. Just because Obama and many of these other guys, they were suave, they're likable, their personality was attractive on screen, but they did not stand for the ways of God, that doesn't mean that you have to support the person. There are many people in the Bible, they were rough around the edges. They even didn't have their life together. But a lot of these guys, especially some of the kings that is talked about in 1 Kings, 2 Kings, 1st, 2nd Chronicles, after David and Solomon's time, there are certain kings that clearly the Bible and God distinguish as being, they did right. They did what was right in the sight of the Lord. King Asa, Jehoshaphat, Jehoash, Amaziah, Azariah, Jotham, Hezekiah, Josiah. These are kings who God had either long tenures with them, they had something prominent in their place in the Bible, meaning their story was long, or they just had certain things, rest on all sides, whatever it is, and they were rewarded for that. But for other people, the ones that did wickedness in the sight of the Lord. And clearly God, if you read the Bible, you'll see this. These guys, they did not say, or rather do anything that was righteous in the eyes of God. They had short lives, short tenures and reigns. They had not much in terms of real estate dedicated to them in the Bible. And these guys I'm sorry to say we're nobodies. And nowhere in the Bible did it say, hey, this king, God liked him because he was, had an attractive personality. He has some charisma. He didn't really rub people the wrong way because of his speech and things like that. It didn't say that. It says that these guys tore down idols. They tore down the statues in high places, the altars, and things that were satanic in nature. And they had decrees and laws and edicts that allowed people to turn away from sin and turn towards God. So you have to have the right values when you place a criteria on somebody for a certain position. And the last caveat I want to make before I go into this is that you got to be very careful what you think you know about somebody. Just because you heard a couple of pieces of editorials and testimonies, 2 or 3 pieces of news, you think you know somebody just from what they say on the outside, on TV, and what you take at face value. I've been talking about this for a very long time. There could be things that are false testimony, false witness. And again, this has happened throughout even Trump's presidency in the last several years in terms of the mainstream media. They conjure up something false. Hey, this Mueller investigation. Hey, this Russia hoax. There's many hoaxes that are made up. And you clearly saw it even after the fact as new evidence, new things came out and said and debunked all this stuff, right? And you have to realize that there's certain things that it's framed to be true. And I said this in a video the other day. It's framed to be true. But be very careful that you don't believe everything you hear. Just because you think, oh yeah, no, I know something about Trump. I know something about what he said and what he stands for. But you don't unless you are completely there with him and you see him 24/7, or that you have discernment to get the right pieces of information and news to properly assess the person. So I'm saying all this because there are certain stages that you have to pass in order to get to a level of understanding that many of us as mature Christians have, which is that, one, you have to get past all this noise. You think you know something, again, about somebody, but you don't know the full content. You didn't research, you didn't pray about it, you didn't have discernment. Second, you have to understand what righteous values and what criteria you put on somebody. And second, you have to see it in the eyes, or lastly, you have to see it in the eyes of love, grace, and mercy. And people, because of their pride, because of just their preconceived notions and cultural upbringing, whatever it is, they think they know something, but they really don't. So I want to say this as an area that you must get over before you could get, and again, this is going to sound arrogant to people that are just like, what are you talking about? I know Trump, he's just a bad guy and I've heard everything about it. No, I'm literally addressing the issues right now that a lot of people have. I used to be in that camp too. I think I knew something. I read a couple of New York Times articles and then I mixed it up with Fox News and then I mixed it up with maybe a little bit of CNN and all this stuff. I used to be in that camp until I woke up and I actually did some digging and some research and asked the Lord for discernment. So this is the first caveat I want to be able to say. And so beyond that, you have to wake up to the agenda of Satan and the enemy right now. A lot of people don't even realize what's going on with this gender stuff and our children. Everybody think it's some kind of conspiracy. Oh no, they're the pedo stuff and all the indoctrination and the map, right? And all of this just grooming and all these like keywords that are here, talking about all this crazy stuff that sounds like what Pizzagate or whatever, all this celebrity Hollywood elitist stuff. That just sounds so crazy to me. But let me give you some anecdotal accounts. Now, if you sign up for a YouTube account or any number of social media platforms, here's one where this person, Aldo, had gone through signing up for a YouTube Kids account, and he selected ages 9 through 12. And in the recommendations, look at what's shown in the recommendations. It's saying kids meet a gender non-conforming person. This LGBTQ programming and indoctrination is happening at a very young age, and kids are being exposed to it. I've talked about this before. They're being exposed to this left and right in the school, on social media platforms. They're being told, hey, you don't have you can switch your gender if you want. You don't have this gender that you were told you were born with the wrong gender at birth, this puberty blockers and these sexual gender surgeries and mutilations and all this stuff. This kind of stuff and the reassignment surgeries, all these different things, guys, you think it's not a serious issue, but it's being seeped into the education system and the early upbringing of these kids. And these kids, they don't know what's best for them, guys. They're 9, 10 years old, 11, and people are so passive thinking, you know what, I'm just going to send them to school. no big deal. And this is what indoctrination is these days. And look at these videos, right? There's these YouTube channels popping up, right? What does gay mean? Queer, this guy, queer kid stuff, doing a popular channel apparently. There's many of these videos talking about what is consent, learning how to consent, right? Consent is about giving permission to someone or something, and all these words, the definition behind words, and this sinister undertone giving rise to maps and all this association. People, again, if you're not into it, you didn't do the research, you're not seeing what these kids at the grassroots level, what they're being exposed to, you're not going to understand. You're going to think it's just whatever, my kids will deal with it. But the Bible says that you have to train up your child in the way of the Lord, and he will not depart from it. So it starts early. And all this stuff, how does it matter, and how is it changed? It's changed either by a bottoms up approach where people, parents, all these guys stand up, or it's done at a top down level by leaders who say, you know what, enough is enough. And this is why these early kings, King Asa, Jehoshaphat, some of these guys tore down things. And yes, some were imperfect. They didn't fully do it the way that God wanted them to do it in some of these accounts. But what they did was they had edicts, they had laws, they had rules, and they said, you know what, no more of this. And it sounds like, oh, you're pushing things on me. You're forcing me to do things. But this is how laws need to be passed in the ways of the Lord, so that God, he's pleased. And again, that line, he did what was right in the sight of the Lord. And I guarantee you, when the books are written about certain leaders and people, it'll be just like 1 Kings, 2 Kings, 1 and 2 Chronicles, where a certain person's story is summarized. And one of the lines that will be there is, hey, Obama, he did blank in the eyes of the Lord. Trump, he did blank in the eyes of the Lord. You know, you name any president, any leader of any country, there's going to be summaries, and God will look at them and just say, you know what, in totality, this is what they did or they didn't do this. And so I'm here to warn you guys, if you're not at that level of being awakened to the fact that this agenda is being pushed on the next generation, you have to realize that this is a serious issue for the next generation, because people are utterly confused about this. And if you think this is not, it's okay, how do you know it's not biblical? I'm literally telling you that if you're not awake in the spirit and asking the Lord for discernment, God said that he made a man, a woman, a woman, and there's only two genders. I'm telling you right now, there's nothing where you're told that you were in the wrong body and the wrong gender and you can choose what you want. No, that's utter satanic garbage. And so I'm here to declare that, proclaim it, and saying, listen, this is the modern day statue of Baal. This is the modern day idols in high places, and allowing people to be content and okay with it, allowing the children to be exposed to it, and having these laws passed slowly seeping in and more, gaining more and more territory in these areas. You're promoting certain algorithms to say, you know what, this queer kids channel stuff it's okay. Just let them do it. If they select it and they're exposed to it, no big deal. No, you have to cut it. You have to nip it at its source. And this is a type of hard line, righteous activity that you need to be able to have. And let me give you guys this video just to end things, guys. Trump, he's talking about what he's going to do. And if you are able to look at it, and again, a lot of people, they're going to have preconceived notion and bias. They're like, I just hate Trump. I can't even stand to listen to him. And they're not even going to be able to stomach listening to what he is saying. And I'm telling you, you can tell people by their fruit. You've seen Trump over the years and how he's been right about these things, about his position. But because people have been so blinded to the wrong, as I've said in my caveat, the wrong values. Oh no, I don't like his personality. I don't like these things. You have to wake up and see that this country, America, many other countries across the world, it's going down, or rather it will go down if this stuff continues to evolve and seep in society. So that's why you have to have a hard stance at this. This is not an easy video to do. This is not some an easy topic to digest. Yes, there are a lot of nuances and things like that, but you have to. I'm giving you a use case of what's very obvious. And even if you argue with even this stuff, I'm telling you, you are heavily deceived on what you think righteousness and unrighteousness is. And so, the same time as identifying what this is and who has a stance on it, go ask and see what Biden's stance on this is. Look and see what Trump's stance is on this gender insanity, if you want to call it that, and all this LGBTQ stuff. And then there's other issues. And then you have to, again, as I've been saying before, with the kings in the Bible, with these guys, you have to look at it with the right values when you look at somebody. So again, I'm giving you guys this. Let me show you guys this quick video of what Trump is saying, and I'll just end it like that.
The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple. Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. A process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children. Can you believe this? I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. I will then ask Congress to permanently stop federal taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures and pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. It'll go very quickly. I will declare that any hospital or healthcare provider that participates in the chemical or physical mutilation of minor youth will no longer meet federal health and safety standards for Medicaid and Medicare and will be terminated from the program immediately. Furthermore, I will support the creation of a private right of action for victims to sue doctors who have unforgivably performed these procedures on minor children. The Department of Justice will investigate Big Pharma and the big hospital networks to determine whether they have deliberately covered up horrific long-term side effects of sex transitions in order to get rich at the expense of vulnerable patients, in this case, very vulnerable. We will also investigate whether Big Pharma or others have illegally marketed hormones and puberty blockers, which are in no way licensed or approved for this use. My Department of Education will inform states and school districts that if any teacher or school official suggests to a child that they could be trapped in the wrong body, they will be faced with severe consequences, including potential civil rights violations for sex discrimination and the elimination of federal funding. As part of our new credentialing body for teachers, we will promote positive education about the nuclear family, the roles of mothers and fathers, and celebrating rather than erasing the things that make men and women different and unique. I will ask Congress to pass a bill establishing that the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female, and they are assigned at birth. The bill will also make clear that Title IX prohibits men from participating in women's sports, and we will protect the rights of parents from being forced to allow their minor child to assume a gender which is new and an identity without the parents' consent. The identity will not be new, and it will not be without parental consent. No serious country should be telling its children that they were born with the wrong gender, a concept that was never heard of in all of human history. Nobody's ever heard of this, what's happening today. It was all when the radical left invented it just a few years ago. Under my leadership, this madness will end. Thank you very much.
And the last thing I want to say, because there's so many immature people that still think this, is that nobody's here worshiping Trump. Nobody's here because, hey, stop being a Trump lover. Stop being a human, worshiper. It's all about Jesus, Jesus. No one's saying that, guys. We're saying what's at stake for a country, for the values, for the next generation. And all we're doing is praying, supporting, and backing the person who has the righteous sight, the righteous mindset of trying to execute these principles for the glory of God. And in the Bible, the same thing happened. These kings, these guys, there's not dedicated chapters talking about how everybody was like fawning over, the kings and Azariah and Josiah. Oh yeah, all these people doing all these like stupid stuff. No one's doing that, guys. All we're doing is looking at and praying for the person who needs to, with his appropriate resources, context of the backing he already has, his history, he's in the best position to be able to make sure that it's disseminated with the help of other people. This law, all this, the desire to abolish and to clean up, clean house. These are the things that we're looking at. Nobody's here, again, making a statue of this guy and just worshiping him. We worship Jesus, we worship God, but we also make sure we are praying, just like how you would pray for your pastor, your leader, you would respect and submit to your husband. All these different things are the same thing. So people have to stop doing this like human worshiping thing. No mature Christian is here doing that. We're just making sure that we're taking care of business in this next generation and tearing down the idols and the wickedness of this hour. So I love you guys. Be blessed. Be encouraged. Talk to you guys very soon.